Hi, time for the weekly update on our renovation project for the building on Middle Valley Road. So what you're looking at here today is an updated drawing of the exterior of the building. We have more detail than in the last drawing that you saw. This is the third video in the series. The last video was sort of a walkthrough of the building and its present condition. The first one was our plan to move with some initial drawings that didn't have much detail. So now we have more detail. So here's the exterior of our building. This brown part that looks like concrete block, because that's what it is. That's the original part of the building. We don't know about colors and things like that yet. This is just the architect's idea of what it could look like when it's all done. So we have the original concrete block at the bottom. If you remember, this is where there's a bay door now, a roll-up door, and then there's another roll-up door here. The door into the office is here, and the third roll-up door is where these windows are. Here in the middle, we have sort of a planter arrangement with some vertical plants growing on a trellis kind of thing to help soften the look a little bit. All of the block, all of the brown is the original building. It's sort of the shell that will be left when everything else is demolished. We have some exterior lighting. There's a lot of lighting on the building. It's very dark out here at night, so you need to have lighting to light things up. And we have these canopies over the windows. There's one here, and one here. I believe the plan at the present time is this one and this one on the ends are open. This one here and here are open, and the one above the door here has covering on the top of it, so as you walk out the door, you're not walking out into the rain, for instance. It also does rain here a lot. So far, we've been here for almost 3 months, I guess, or coming up on 3 months, and it rains pretty much almost every day. Sometimes when it rains really, really hard. We had one Saturday, I think it was a couple weekends ago, where in one day it rained pretty much hard and constantly all day, and newspaper said it rained 3 inches in 24 hours, which is quite a bit. Up here on the top part of the building, the light colored with the vertical stripes, this is all metal panel siding. This is all new up here. And so this represents the addition on the top of the building. Of course, we have the clerestory windows here. I think this is going to change somewhat. I think he's moved these around. And then we have a large window here for the office and another window here, which is, I think, also in the office upstairs. If you look down here, you'll see this is the raised deck area right here, and there are steps that go down, and then there's a platform, and then there's steps that go back up to the street level, which is here. So I'm not sure how wide this is exactly, but there'll be 2 air conditioning units, one here and one here for the HVAC for the entire building, and then the deck area here. Of course, there's a railing and all that, but there's this large steel vertical I-beam here that supports the corner of the building, and the deck is covered with the metal roof up here. We don't know about all of the details and finishes and things like that, but we're working on it. All of the doors and windows will be your classic aluminum frame storefront design, because that's a reasonably inexpensive way to go. Not that windows are inexpensive by any stretch of the imagination. The original building has these old-fashioned steel sash windows, which you saw in the second video. I actually talked to a company that's in New York, and they make steel sash windows like they did 150 years ago. This company's been in business for like 125 years, and one window, say the size of this one, just the steel sash, no glass, no glazing, just the steel frame, not installed and not delivered. A window this size would cost you about $8,000 to have made. Now, granted, they'll last 150 years probably, but it's way, way, way too much money for what we're doing. I think they're primarily used for like historic renovations and things like that, not really exactly what we're looking for. So let's get rid of all of the mess we made. And we'll go on to the next page. So if we scroll up here, here we have the back of the building. And you can see again the brown concrete block. This is all original. Here's our raised deck area here. I'm not sure how far this is exactly off the ground. When you go out to the building and you stand there and look, it doesn't exactly seem as if this is truly accurate, but it may be that when you walk around the building, it looks like some courses of the concrete block have actually been covered up with soil over the decades, and I imagine that a lot of that sort of has to get scraped away to get down to the actual footing. And then we have these round like sonotube piers that they have to drill as footings to hold up the posts that hold up the deck right there. See here, you can see the steps that go down, and then there's the platform, and then steps that go up to the street, and these are the air conditioning units. There will be a set of double doors. You saw this in the last video. There's a window here now, which is about like that, and that's going to get taken out, and the opening will be enlarged, so there'll be a set of double doors, windows here on the back on the end of the building, and then more clerestory windows up here. Here up in the roof section above the deck, you can see the steel trusses that form the structural part of the roof, and then this big steel beam vertical that goes here, and a horizontal beam that goes this way to tie it in to give it strength. So that's kind of what we have in mind. So again, we'll erase all of that. That, and we'll move on up to the next drawing. This is the main floor. Things have become somewhat more defined than they were before. We'll start on the outside. So here's the steps, here's the street on the front of the building right here, and here's the steps that go down to the platform across here, and then steps that go back up to the deck area right here. I should have gone to art school, don't you think? So you saw that in the last exterior drawing. Here we have the flex room. Nothing much has changed there. We have our lobby area. As I said in the last video, there's going to be sort of a counter here. And then he has this drawn as a full height wall with a regular door. I think maybe a half wall with a half door would be better so you can actually see through. In the last floor plan drawing, the stairs were drawn in as switchback stairs in this area, and for engineering and cost considerations that was abandoned because it was more expensive to do. It would have meant more structural steel in the frame of the building, and also it's a more expensive sort of staircase to build. So the stairs have been moved. So now, as you saw in the last video, they go up this direction, and they also go down. It's amazing what stairs can do, and they're incorporated into the platform of the second level. It's actually a fairly neat way to do it. Here we have the big workshop area, shipping table over here, bathroom area here, our little kitchenette right here. When this was drawn, this right here would have been Cindy's desk. After we did the marking it out on the floor thing, let's get rid of all this so it's easier to see. All right, so what we decided to do, once we drew all this out on the floor and Cindy got to look at it and everything, she realized that this was not a good place for her desk. So what's changed since then is, I'll draw this in here, there's going to be a wall, and this is roughly like this and like this. Oops, better than that. It will be a straight wall. That's not very good. Anyway, there'll be this sort of L-shaped wall that's floor to ceiling, and her desk will be in this area approximately like that. And that way this wall can be an accent wall, There will be some sort of wood cladding on the inside of the walls in this part of the building, and it's just for decoration. And this wall can also pick up that theme, and that way, if people do come in or whatever happens here in the lobby area, you're not looking all the way straight back through, and her desk is buried back here in the corner, and you can see the kitchenette and. That didn't seem like a good plan. Also, by doing it this way, you gain a space here on the back side of this wall where you can put file cabinets and things like that, and that just seems to make good sense. Cindy came up with that idea, and the architects, yeah, that's a good idea. I guess this whole sort of open floor plan thing that was so popular over the last decade and a half or so is starting to lose favor, because it turns out that people like their space and don't necessarily want to be in a big space with everybody else. So that's pretty much what's gone on here. And then if we go down to the second floor plan, not a lot has changed here. He did change the size of the office upstairs and took the extra space out of the storeroom right here, because it seemed I think they were the equal size. I don't remember exactly, but it makes more sense to have a slightly bigger office than it is a bigger storeroom, because all of this loft area up here will be where all of the shelving goes to store all of the intercom boards and equipment and intercom sets and things that are inventory, basically. And see here, you can see here's the stairs that come up from the bottom floor, and if you're up here, they go down. See, it says down. See, they go down. Stairs are amazing. Anyway, and then here's sort of a artist's conception of what the interior of the building kind of would look like. This doesn't incorporate the changes on the first floor that we just talked about. It does show the stairs going up here. He has railings that are just drawn in now as this sort of wire mesh and whatever else the frame is made out of. I don't think that's going to stay exactly. Here you can get a sense of that clerestory windows up high on the back wall of the building, and they kind of match what's on the front. Windows down here. This gray box right here, that would have been Cindy's desk, this part right here, and that's been moved out here now, and you'll have the wall that sits behind it like that, so you get a little better design that way. I'll get rid of all that. You can see that. One of the other changes that we've decided was here you can see through the railing the concrete block. This is the original concrete block wall that divides up the main part of the building here with the flex room here. You can see it here drawn in with these hash marks. And one of the questions that he had for us was, how do you want this wall to be finished? What's it going to look like when it's done? All of the other interior wall surfaces all the way around the building, here and here and here, and actually all of this also, pretty much all the way around, it's all going to be framed out with wood framing inside the steel structure and then covered over with drywall and different finishes and things like that. This would have been the only interior wall that remained concrete block. And as we walked around here in this room and talked about this, it seemed to us that it wasn't really an appropriate way to save it. The wall's not in good condition. There's a lot of penetrations. That means holes in the walls where things have come through. And it's not a particularly well done concrete block wall. It's just what you would expect. You know, I think originally it was an exterior wall. That's why there's actually a window here. It's left out of the drawing. He's changed that. There's actually a window here. And this doorway, the original doorway, is only half as big, like that. So it has to be enlarged anyway. And so the decision was made that we started with, well, you could simply cover it over with wood framing as we're going to do in the rest of the building on both sides, and then sheetrock it. But Josh, the architect, said, well, if you're going to do that for the cost of lumber and it makes more sense. This concrete block wall is going to come out, and then it'll be reframed with wood, and it'll be an interior wood wall that gets sheetrocked. Part of it will stay, and it actually might be easier to show it to you this way. Let's get rid of some of the lines. All right, so the concrete block wall that gets removed is from here to here, roughly. And then you can see it continues on, and it's actually part of the exterior of the building on the patio. So right here is where the demolition will end, and this exterior part will remain, and then this part here gets replaced with a wood frame wall with sheetrock and so forth. It's just a better way to do it, and the extra cost of demolition is not huge. The extra cost for the materials and labor to frame a wall is not huge. And also, in some respects, for electrical and other things that have to go in there, it actually makes it easier. While it's not a wash, it certainly does probably make it better. So we'll get rid of all that. Those are the updated plans. I think the interior is kind of interesting. He's trying to work it out where there's only one steel support here, one vertical support for the upstairs floor. It might be necessary to have two, but you can see here there's another vertical steel beam that sort of comes down from the top. It's hidden behind the stairs in the drawing. It comes down here. So you actually would have two steel beams, one here, which he thinks for the load on the floor, which is not a huge thing. It's not like we're putting massive machinery up there or anything like that. It's just kind of storage. Will be fine. So that kind of works out well. We're getting close to having a final and full set of plans. So that's the update for today on our renovation project for our building at Middle Valley Road in Hickston, Tennessee. I hope you found this interesting, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube, because that helps us just a little bit. Try to do a weekly update video, probably every Friday. I know next week there are some interesting things that are going on the site, and there'll be some videos about that. But for today, that's the update. See ya.